there are some which have forest and there are some which have sand. But by and large, Rajasthan is a dry terrain, which means that it rains very infrequently, and this is true of parts of Karnataka, it's true of parts of Tamil Nadu, it's true of parts of Andhra, Telangana also. So once in a while you will have 2-3 years when it doesn't rain, and the only source of work that was available was drought relief work. And drought relief work meant that the government opened one big work site. 100-200 people came, they worked in that work site. Whatever they were paid, they had to take. Because basically it was like a dole. You need work, you need to survive, I will provide the work. There were times when you would have one master roll. How many of you know a master roll? ఎంతమందికి మాస్టర్ రోల్ అంటే తెలుసు? మాస్టర్ రోల్ చూసారా ఎప్పుడైనా? మీరు చూసారు? But it's there on most work. You see it today when you go into the village. It's basically a labor list in which attendance is taken. Master roll means a labor list in which attendance is taken. రోజు master roll it's an attendance list. Who came to work? Panchesara leda, it will be ticked off. It's just a list or attendance list matram. But it's called a master roll. Across the country it is called a master roll.
Those of you familiar with the MREGA scheme and the website of the MREGA scheme also will be familiar with master rolls and how they are presented. Who has worked, how many days, how many hours,
how many hours. So those details are there. Now that master roll has 20 names. There would be 100 people who would come for work, and the government would say 20 people can come and work today. For this week we will give only 20 or 40 people work. Who would get onto that list? That would be a fight. So whoever is locally powerful, all of them would get work. And the really poor people would not get work. That's where the demand for NREGA came from. That let it be universal, let everyone get work. So it is not whether I should work or you should work, we all can work. People would work for 8 hours at a stretch, and you can imagine digging earth all through the day. Your entire hands get completely calloused. You get all kinds of boils in your hands. I can't do it. I have tried it, not once but many times. And within half an hour I'm like sweating, saying, my God, I need to sit down, get me some water. That's my kind of scenario. But people work for 8 hours, and at the end of that 8 hours, they would not get paid. They would get paid 10 rupees, 12 rupees. This was when the government used to pay 22 rupees as minimum wages. I'm talking about 1990. So local people started saying, I work through the day. Why is it that I get paid less than the minimum wage? And government's response would always be, poor fellows, they come, they sit around, they smoke beedies, they play tash, they play cards. You think they are interested in working? They don't work. So it was one very old Dalit singer, the person who first said that the record should come out. His name is Mohanji, he's no more. When I first met Mohanji in Devdungri, he was almost 70. He died last year. But Mohanji had never gone to school. He was a very powerful Dalit singer. He has sung some of the most powerful songs that you and I can't even dream of. I mean, really, really political songs, to the extent where he would say, I'll quote one of his, some of the lines from a song. He would say, in earlier days, the dakus, the dacoits used to move around on camels. Now they move around in cars. Earlier days, the dacoits used to live in the jungles. Today they live in big bungalows. Earlier the dacoits would kill with their guns. Today they kill with the pen. He's never been to school, but he was one of the most radical poets, and when he sang, everyone in that village would just sit up. So it was Mohanji who first said, let those records come out. Because whenever people would ask government, how can you say that we don't work? How can you say we are lazy? They would say, oh, we have records to prove it. We have master rolls, we have measurement books. So we started saying, okay, show it to us. Show us those measurement books. Show us those master rolls. And immediately the reaction from government would be, oh, but under the Official Secrets Act 1923, who ruled us in 1923?
British.
So naturally, the British who ruled us in 1923 needed an Official Secrets Act because the people who ruled were all British, but the people who worked under them were Indian. And they were very scared that the Indian bureaucracy would go and share information with their Indian counterparts who are part of their family, and there was a whole movement by then, 1857, revolts had begun, there was a freedom movement. So in 1923, it made sense to have an Official Secrets Act from the Britisher point of view. In 1990, with my own government, why should I have an Official Secrets Act? Are they rulers and am I to be ruled, or have I voted for them to rule on my behalf? So that was the transition, where people said we don't need an Official Secrets Act. What we need is a Right to Information Act, where any information where you are spending on me, I am not asking about border issue. I am asking in my village, in my name, if you have spent money, then show me those records. Until here, is everyone with me? If anyone hasn't followed, I'm happy to repeat. Okay, so that's how the fight for right to information began. And while we were fighting, we realized we needed to use some amount of innovative techniques. What were the innovative techniques? So I remember we got a complaint from someone who came and said, I have worked on a school building, and while taking the attendance, the maid today when he was doing the payment was paying everyone 11 rupees. But on the master roll, where people were signing, the amount that was written was 22 rupees. So we said, are you sure? Are you absolutely sure that on the sheet you've seen 22? He said, yes, absolutely sure. So then we wondered, we said, okay, let's see what we can do. And then he went back to the maid and he said, I have seen that you've written 22. So the maid apparently took him aside and said, see, you've seen it, I'll pay you 22 rupees. But don't go and tell the others. So he said, no, if you pay everyone, otherwise I don't want this money. At that point, we wanted to pull out the documents related to this particular case. So the local BDO was someone who had been, was in the IAS Academy, and he had heard Mr. Harsh Mandar, who was the director of the Lal Bahadur Shastri Academy, and had been his post director. And Mr. Harsh Mandar was a great votary saying right to information movement is required, RTI should be passed. So when we went and met this BDO, he said, he was a young trainee IAS officer, he said, yeah, what is there? Take the information. The minute he said take the information, his whole office went into paralysis. So he called his clerk and he said, yeah, give them the information. So the clerk did move, he kept standing there. This guy was signing something, he looks up, he said, Arey, you haven't gone, go, give them the file. So then the clerk said, but sir, that is against the rule, against the law, we can't give him the file. So he said, okay, you can't give him a photocopy, but you can let him see the file. And this fellow didn't know what to say, the file bhi nahi dikha sakte. Then he said, let him see the file and let him make a noting. So while my colleague Shakarji sat and wrote down all the names from the list in the collector's room, every person in that office who saw him sitting and writing those details would start look, and then they would go and hold their heads like this and say, this video has gone mad, he's given them access to the file. We took that information, went back into the village. There was one school and there was a community center. So we went asking about the community center. Is there a community center? Have you seen the community center? And the response was universal. They said, we don't know about a community center. We know about 4 walls that have been built in the last 1 year. It's right around the corner, you can go and see it. So you are thinking, what 4 walls? Anyway, we went to check. And when we went to check, we really found only 4 walls. Whereas, in the entire document that we had noted down, the building had been shown as completed. So there was a room, there were windows, there was a door, there was flooring. Then when we started meeting the labourers, we found there were dead people's names on the list, people who had died, people who didn't exist. So someone's husband's name, someone's wife's name, both taken, you create a new couple in that village, you say so and so has got to work. Innovative. So that's where the battle for right to information began. That when those documents come out in public, that is when you will know what the truth is. Until then, it's my word against your word. So I, from the bureaucracy, will say this is what is the truth, and you know your own truth. So how do you make the two match? The only way it can be matched is when you bring those documents into the public and say, this is what is being recorded, this is what government records say, now you tell us what you have to say. And if those two don't match, then something somewhere is fundamentally wrong. So this movement for RTI had social audit, so Jansunwai, we used to call it a people's public hearing, a Jansunwai in those days. Eventually, when the NREGA got passed, since some of us happened to have an opportunity to be on the drafting, so we put in one line which said that the social audit will be done by the Gram Sabha. We put in a huge chapter on how the social audit should be carried out. But when it went to the ministry's final draft of the NREGA, they cut everything. So what was left, thankfully at least they left, that the social audit will be done by the Gram Sabha, otherwise that would have also gone. But every other state in the last 7 years has claimed to have done social audits through their Gram Sabhas. Please go on to their website, to the MORD website, and you will actually find that the reporting of the state says we've done 7 rounds of social audit, we have found no issues. So if you